Okay, welcome to another episode of Paul's Collectibles and what will be the final episode of me giving you an overview of my 3 3/4 inch Star Wars action figure collection. Obviously, I'll continue to collect them and continue to do unboxings. As a matter of fact, I either have one coming up or you've already seen it for some more figures from this particular wave. And this is my vintage collection wave, and it's the one that's been going on from about 2010, which is my oldest character in this wave, to 2019, which is my most recent character in this wave. So with that, let's get into this final episode in this format and take a look at these characters one by one. Okay, to start with, over here is my oldest character from this wave. It's the Sand Trooper, of which you can see I have two. And as we go through, you'll see the packaging changed a little bit on the back. As a matter of fact, I will show you. This is the Vintage Collection 14, as you can see up there. And they used to do this thing where they would show you an older version of the character, and there were different colors on the back. So that's what the back of that one looks like. Here we have the Vintage Collection Revenge of the Sith Clone Trooper, otherwise known as the Phase 2 Clone Trooper. And on the back, he was purplish blue, and they gave you what the old one used to look like on the what looks like Revenge of the Sith card, and some other ones down there from those cards. Now, if you've kept up with my channel, you also know this is a guilty pleasure buy for me. Never been a huge General Grievous fan, but he's got lightsabers, and there's not much in the line of these 3.75 characters to buy anymore, so I went in and picked him up. Even though he's not a Jedi or a Sith, technically he has lightsabers. And we'll flip him over, and as you can see, he's Vintage Collection 17. When's that from? About 2010, I'm guessing. And it shows you what he used to look like on the old Revenge of the Sith card as well. This next one is an Attack of the Clones Clone Trooper. Just the standard old Clone Trooper. They got it right. And the sculpts on these are much better than a lot of the newer figures, or excuse me, a lot of the older figures as the technology has gotten better. You saw the Stormtrooper wasn't that good, but as they've gotten through, and I'll show you later the Remnant Stormtrooper, the technology has gotten so much better. And on the back, the card switched to this. This is Vintage Collection 45, and they just showed you other characters in the wave, or in that series, that you could take a look at. And this is about the time that Disney picked him up too, because the bottom logo changes to Disney down there. I ended up with two Quinlan Vos. This is one of my favorite characters as well. I love how they kind of retconned that guy that was in the background of Phantom Menace into being a full-fledged Jedi who had his own backstory and appearances and series and things like that. And I thought he was pretty cool, carrying a green lightsaber. He's got a regular hilt and a blaster, and there's a screen grab of him in the background. It's about the time that Jar Jar is walking through and tries to steal a little bit of food and gets caught. And then on the back, he's Vintage Collection 85. And they changed the back again because the Disney logo is not down on the bottom like it was on that previous one. On the front of this one, you can see he was apparently a Walmart exclusive. This is the Mimban Stormtrooper, of which I have two others, one in that multi-pack that I showed you a bunch of videos ago, and then one from, I believe, the Solo A Star Wars Story line as well. That's what he looks like. Not a bad sculpt at all. Pretty good looking. Not a hard character to make though. You just got to mess him up and he looks good, right? Flip him over. He was Vintage Collection 123. If I can get that into focus for you. There you go. Once again, we're back to the Disney logo again. It just seems to go back and forth on what these look like. Next up we have the Rogue One Imperial Assault Tank Driver. There is a version of this that is the Commander, which we'll get to later. And as you can see, the difference being, remember, this guy's just a little dirty up top, but his armor is pretty much all white. And it's got it in what looks like French below. Pretty good looking character once again. Then we'll flip him over, and that's Vintage Collection 126. And the ever-present Disney logo. Coming up next is what you know to be one of my favorite characters from this whole series of movies, the Imperial Death Trooper, or in French, Death Trooper Impérial, which it says underneath it. But man, what a cool character. Just like I said before, when he stepped on the screen in Rogue One, I was sold. But another good character, another good sculpt. They have all the extra stuff on this one, as opposed to what's in the picture there. That's just the regular guy. This is like I consider to be the specialist, I think, with the pauldron and the extra mags. long rifle, short pistol. Flip him over, Vintage Collection 127, and some of the other characters that are in that wave. Disney logo. Next up, not technically a Stormtrooper. This is Han Solo and Stormtrooper disguise, but still what just looks like an unmasked Stormtrooper. And as I said, as it gets harder and harder and more expensive to collect these characters, I get less and less picky. That's why I have a Grievous. That's why I have a Han Solo dressed as a Stormtrooper. And flipped over here, he is Vintage Collection 143. We can get it to focus. There we go. And he looks similar to the ones previous. Next up, we have the 41st Corps Clone Trooper. Soldat Clone du 41 Corps d'Elite. I probably didn't say that close, but that's as good as French accent as you're going to get out of me. Now, this guy's wearing gray. And depending on when he shows up in these waves, you can see he's either the Coruscant platform traffic trooper or whatever, or this 41st Corps Elite Trooper. So they must have really similar markings on their uniforms. And Vintage Collection 145. Here is the Rogue One Imperial Assault Tank Commander. I'm not even going to torture you with any more French appropriations, but you can see it says it in French underneath there as well. And the difference being, you see this guy, he's got those gray markings, those gray shoulders, which mark him as the dude that's in charge. The big man, the one sticking his head out of the top to die first. He is Vintage Collection 148. And man, they're starting to look really similar on a regular basis on the back now. All right, another guilty purchase buy. As you're well aware, I'm not too excited about the sequels that have come out, but couldn't help it. Found this guy online, Red Sith Trooper, Sith armor with that new helmet sculpt. Had to pick it up. This one got damaged a little bit in transit. They didn't do a very good job of packing it. I did not do an unboxing video on that because I hadn't started them yet, but next time that happens, we'll put that company on blast in a video. On the back, the card backs have stayed pretty much the same. And then he is Vintage Collection 162. Next up, Shadow Trooper. These are really cool too. I don't remember seeing these in a movie or anything like that. I don't even think they were. But if you look at that sculpt, that's a really good black Stormtrooper. A little bit of gray in there just to give it some offsetting detail. Another fun, cool character. On the back, Vintage Collection 163. Card is nearly identical as the rest. I did an unboxing on these, so I'll go pretty quick. That's Cara Dune. We talked about her before. Like I said, I did an unboxing video on these, so if you want to check her out in great detail, please go back, check that out. Hope you enjoy it. She's 164. By now, the Stormtrooper sculpts are starting to get really good. I mean, look at this guy. Even though he's supposed to be deteriorated because he's just a remnant Stormtrooper from the Mandalorian, look at the detail and articulation that they put into that. Much better than some of the ones you saw in previous videos from back in the day that were just, oh my goodness, what were they thinking? Vintage Collection 165. Last but not least, the guy that was also in that wave. I talked about why I picked him up. Yes, I know he's not a clone, not a Sith, not a Jedi, but man, what an awesome character. And as I mentioned before, I thought it was interesting that they went with his old armor. I'm guessing maybe they'll come out with another figure with his new armor. We'll see. Vintage Collection 166. Okay, there you have it. That's the end of my Star Wars figure collection overview videos. You've seen them all. You've gone through them with me. I hope you enjoyed the long and arduous trip that we made together. And please stay tuned to my channel for more unboxing videos, as I'm still buying helmets and 3 3/4 inch action figures. And if I get desperate and run out of stuff to buy, maybe I'll start on the 6-inch figures, but we'll see. Until our next video together, you take care.